Hello and welcome to episode 149. Just one away from 150, Dad. I'm
I know,
Jason.
really excited about that.
Yeah.
And so, and you know this, everybody, this show has a Pittsburgh bent.
Yes.
So Jason sent me something this morning from Forbes magazine, which is legit.
Forbes. It's a national magazine.
Rated all all the teams in the NHL as who had the best fans. And number one was the Pittsburgh Penguins. And here's how they do it. It's all pretty much all quantitative. There's no surveys or anything. It's what's called fan consumption metrics. So it's local television ratings, and every Pittsburgh team, the Pirates, the Steelers, the Penguins, all score really, really high on that. I mean, the viewership is just off the charts. Attendance in relationship to capacity. In other words, what percentage of the arena is sold out? So if they're playing at 90, and the Penguins probably play at 95% plus every game. So that's a big thing. Then secondary ticket demand on StubHub. How many tickets are being sold? How many tickets being bought? How much they're being bought for? Then merchandise sales. And you know it's a black and gold town.
Yeah.
And then social media reach, Facebook and Twitter. So how much are people paying attention and commenting and sharing videos and sharing different things on those things? And then they added a new one on like Nielsen ratings, which I still think I don't really buy in because I think it's too fragmented. But it's a percentage of each team's metropolitan area that watch. So what percentage of all the people in Pittsburgh watched, attended, or listened to a game in the past year? So you just be, so how many people actually had an interest in the Penguins? They either watched, they listened, or they went to a game.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Especially, obviously.
That's the rankings. And like I said before, the Steelers have won a couple times. And it just, and the Pirates have really good local television ratings.
And that says a lot about...
It kind of correlates to the age of the people.
Yes. And considering how bad the Pirates have been most of my life, that's a pretty impressive that people still watch.
Yeah. But one thing I liked about the Pirates is I'm on the Pirate fan council, so I get these random surveys.
Yeah.
So they sent me about, I want to say 20 different possible T-shirts for the free Friday night T-shirt.
Okay.
And I get to rank them in groups of 5.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they solicit the input.
I think definitely.
I think it's just a good thing to do. So, Jace, before we go any further, I guess we should talk about the elephant in the room. So let's talk about the game last night.
The feathers came off of my duck.
Yes, it did.
But, I mean,
the feathers came off your duck.
To be fair, that offense, to quote my favorite show, Letterkenny, the Duck offense have only scored, they're averaging like 1 offensive touchdown a game for the last 8 games and 15 total points. So they've been scoring on defense and special teams almost as often as they've been scoring on offense. And that's just simply not sustainable. I mean, at some point, the fact that you have a 4th-string quarterback who was an undrafted free agent who wasn't even invited to the combine, and you lost. I mean, granted, he's not in the NFL right now, but Antonio Brown was, in the last 5 years, one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in all of football.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And he's gone. And then I think the scary thing right now, if you're a Steeler fan, is I think the 2 scariest things is, one, the offensive line is starting not to look good, especially Pouncey. I thought the line actually looked better for the 2 games he was suspended. Now, clearly, he's one of the most beloved Steelers on the team, and he's Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and he's been an All-Pro his whole life. But he looks like he's getting moved a lot, more so than when he was out and B.J. Finney was filling in. And, Filer made that great tackle, but it just seems like the line isn't what it was. And I don't know if that's just a new coach or if the situations change, or like you said, some of the guys are getting a little bit older, but the line doesn't look the same. And I think, I don't think anyone, well, I shouldn't say anyone, I don't think any realistic Steeler fan thought Duck was the answer. I thought his ceiling was probably Chase Daniels, like a
Mm-hmm.
10-year NFL backup who maybe if your quarterback goes down for 2 or 3 weeks, come in and keep you at 500 for the weeks that he's gone. And I still
Yep.
think that might be a ceiling for him. He is a rookie, but his arm strength really isn't there.
Those are some, but if it wasn't for the turnovers last night, and two of them occurred in the end zone, one occurred on the 10, and another one occurred in Steeler territory.
And that horrible.
Two others occurred in Steeler territory. So a lot of scoring opportunities that could have happened, and then a lot of scoring opportunities that they gave.
Yeah,
the fumble on first down on the 10-yard line was a killer.
And the 22-yard punt.
They come out of it with points. Worst case.
Yeah, the 22-yard punt killed him too.
Yes. So it was, as good as Buffalo was, and I say they were very, very good. Their defense was really good. They sacked them 4 times, and we only had 1 sack. But as good as that team was, they could have been beaten.
Yes.
5 turnovers.
But and I'll go. My second scary thing for the Steelers is none of their playmakers seem to get open frequently. Like I was telling you, I watched the Browns game, and Odell and Landry are wide open every other play. One of those guys is like running free, screaming to the other team, "Come get me!" because we're on a terrible franchise and we want to leave. And even when the Steelers, even when Washington has made his great plays, he's making contested catches. And I think on a few of them,
contested catches, or he always makes a big catch on the sidelines, but he's running free last night, he didn't get past.
Yeah, but that was one play. But consistently, when they show the video, those Steelers receivers are not getting open.
No.
And the backs, as good as James Conner looks from play to play, they don't have a burner or anybody that scares you back there. And then obviously the scariest thing is, Mason Rudolph clearly doesn't look like the future quarterback. And have you seen all the comparison photos to Ben Roethlisberger between him and Matt Patricia, who's an overweight coach of the Lions?
Yeah.
Him and Yukon Jack from remember the animated Christmas story where the little elf wants to become a dentist?
Yep.
And they run into you.
I prefer to believe Ben had on a lot of warm clothing last night.
Yes. And that beard wasn't covering a double chin. It was just a thick beard.
Yep.
But, at the very least, it doesn't look like you have a succession plan. And you have a 39-year-old quarterback who's had a number of injuries coming off a severe elbow surgery when we've seen guys like his contemporaries. Manning is washed. Rivers is washed. Brady, who does everything humanly possible. And maybe, again, this will be a quick Steeler slam on Brady. Maybe other stuff. Just throwing it out there. The man does have an impeccable hairline all of a sudden. But, he looks like he's human. There's a certain point, and Breeze has looked very human at times this year too.
Yeah.
For 39. So, if you're the Steelers,
it's the world of Mahomes and
Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers is still getting it done. Russell Wilson is having a fantastic season.
Russell Wilson, yep.
I think Deshaun Watson, for the most part, when his team is healthy, when they have that second or third receiver, they're really hard to beat.
Mm-hmm. And then we give props to Ryan Tannehill, who kind of reinvented himself.
Yeah. But the thing about Ryan Tannehill was never his was less his performance and talent and more his inability to stay healthy.
Yeah.
He was always a capable player who just wasn't seemed to be able to stay on the field.
True.
And I guess we've talked Steelers. They have a number of ways they can get into the playoffs, whatever that is worth this year. I think it would be a nice.
I'm rooting for Baltimore resting all their starters.
Yeah, but even if the Steelers beat the Jets and then the Houston Texans take care of the Titans at home, although that was a very close game, but now they get them at home, then the Steelers also get in because they still have a 2-game lead over the Browns and everybody else. So
yeah,
they have a number of ways of getting into the playoffs, and they've guaranteed a 500 season. And again, kudos to as much as I complain about. It's weird. I've stopped complaining about Tomlin and I'm complaining about Randy Fichtner now. I know it's all one game plan, but
you're a true Pittsburgher.
Yes,
you're a true Pittsburgher.
You got to complain about something.
Well, I want to move us on to some things again. I think we had a lot of fun last week with SBJ with the poll. These are their decade awards. So this is from 2010 through 2019.
Okay.
So I'll give you the category and you pick your person.
All right.
or thing. So the executive of the year in
Oh,
all sports.
in all sports.
Hmm.
Ooh. Wow, that is a. I mean, I think up until a few months ago, the Astros guy may have been in the contest, but he's clearly not.
Think bigger than that.
Think bigger than that?
Hmm.
Are we thinking international, or is it one of the four major American sports?
4 major American sports.
Okay. And I won't go homer and pick Jim Rutherford. I would say Ozzie Newsome of the Ravens.
No, Adam Silver.
Oh, he said. I think I was thinking smaller. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. This next one, people, the franchise of the decade. In other words, the best team of the decade.
Oh, I mean, it's painful to say, but it's kind of hard to imagine it's not the Patriots.
It's not the Patriots.
It's not the Patriots.
No.
The Golden State Warriors.
There you go. Franchise of the decade, Golden State Warriors.
That's like it had to be one of those two, unless we were going soccer, and then it'd be out of my depth. But
okay, sports city of the decade.
oh, well, again, we've had. Well, this is century. I know we've had
This is from 2010 to 2019.
2010 to 2019. The sports city, huh?
Hmm.
I'd have to guess Boston.
And that was my guess. And again, we're wrong.
Oh.
San Francisco.
Oh, I guess
San Francisco Bay Area.
I guess because the Giants won a couple.
The Giants won 3.
Oh yeah.
And how many times would the Warriors win? 4 or 5?
I want to say 4. I think they won 4 in 5 years, right? Didn't they go back to back, lose one, and go back to back?
Yeah. The Giants sold out 555 consecutive games. And no, the Warriors won 3 and the Giants won 3.
Oh, okay, 3 and 3.
Yeah. So they won six championships in those 10 years.
Yeah.
And then they also talk about how the venues, Levi's Stadium, and the things they host. They host Super Bowl, College Football Playoff, WrestleMania, the Warriors Chase Center, the America's Cup. So a bunch of different stuff. It was pretty interesting.
Okay, that makes sense.
The facility of the decade.
What is the Golden State Warriors? No, they have a new one coming. So the facility of the
Yeah,
decade.
but it's just only been around for a year, so it's not in there.
That's not in there.
So something that's been around for 10 years.
10 years. I think I would tend to say. I mean, I guess we're sticking with it, but like I know the new Candlestick, the New York Giants Park is super nice. Really nice run facility.
No, the venue is Jerry's World.
Oh.
AT&T Stadium.
I've never been, but you've been.
I've been. It's pretty amazing.
Good old Jerry Jones. His Cowboys got a nice one.
$1.2 billion. And it won't. I mean, the next one's going to be the Rams Stadium. It's going to be the one. So.
Over the next decade.
The original event of the decade.
Oh, the original event.
You might not get this, and I'm just going to go and throw it out to you. It's the Major League Baseball Little League Classic. Like when the Pirates and the Cardinals went there and the Pirates and the Cubs went there.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, that is really... I agree with that one. I like that one. That was an amazing event.
I guess I just saw that as just an extension of a Little League World Series. I didn't realize it was an event of itself. So that's, yeah. But it's a really nice.
So I'll throw out a couple more just for our listeners. The sponsor of the decade was Anheuser-Busch. No surprise.
Yeah.
Although my second choice would probably been Geico. The new business model of the decade, Fanatics.
Okay.
Sport business athlete of the decade.
Sport business athlete of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a sport?
Basketball.
Steph Curry.
LeBron.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. He does make $1 billion a year from China, so whatever he ends up
He
making.
gets $55 million a year for endorsements.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And he won a championship in Cleveland and a championship in Miami.
Yeah. Did you see the highlights of him at his son's game?
I did. He was a dad.
He was a dad. I can't imagine most dads getting to jump up and down on the court and constantly be held back, but he was definitely a dad and a fan. And I think his son's high school team, because Bronny's a freshman, but he's still getting some PT on the varsity, and there's a kid going, I think, to Kentucky and one going to another school. I think they said they're going to be nationally televised or at least televised in 13 times this season, which is pretty crazy.
Where is that high school? Is it California?
Yes. It's actually, I know it's somewhere in the greater Los Angeles area. I mean, it's Southern California. I don't know exactly where it officially, I'm sure somebody can correct me exactly where, but I know it is like an LA-based high school.
Okay. So a couple other things. We had some year-end awards in SBJ.
Okay.
The best sports city was Nashville.
Oh, really?
The best reboot was the LA Clippers. The best creative campaign was the NFL's 100-year game. Although I probably like the NCAA's 150 years better. Best sport content, I have not seen this, but everybody told me it's really good. The Sterling Affairs.
I have not seen that either.
No, I've heard everybody said it's really, really good.
And I know, given what's happening currently and the fact that he's Belichick, but have you watched Belichick talk about some of the 100 greatest players of all time?
No.
He's really engaging and really, really informative and really good.
Well, he's really smart, so yeah. I would take his.
But like, he's also like he's got like an excitement and an enthusiasm. Like, you see it from time to time, but like when he's talking about Lawrence Taylor and he's talking about some other players throughout history, like you get to see like an incredibly informed, excited fan. It's kind of nice. But he's also, like I said, it's just you get to hear a lot, and you get to hear some behind the scenes Lawrence Taylor stories too. That pretty much just stick with the legend. Yes.
Well, he coached Lawrence Taylor, so you should have good insight there.
Yeah. And the Lawrence Taylor rules.
Yeah. Whatever they were.
Yes. If Lawrence.
I saw some Steelers made it on the All-Decade team. I saw Joe Green made it. I saw Jack Ham made it. I saw Jack Lambert made it. I think Mel Blount, Palomalo.
Yeah.
So a lot of defensive players. I don't know how many offensive players.
I think when you look at the Steeler history, like if you're arguing like, and he wouldn't make it even though he won 4 Super Bowls, but Bradshaw is probably still the most decorated Steelers offensive player, right?
Bradshaw had 4, Franco had 4, Lynn Swann had 4, Stallworth had 4.
Right, but Stallworth and Swann, not that they cancel each other out, but they wouldn't hold up against Jerry Rice and some of the other guys as far as numbers go. As far as Steeler offensive players, and Rocky Blyer, Franco Harris, Jerome Bettis, like none of those guys quite make that cut of running backs. And then I think, arguably, we obviously have a soft spot for Hines Ward, Stallworth, and Swann, but I think Antonio Brown has the record for almost every Steeler receiving stat.
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's sad.
Well, they could really use him right now.
Yeah.
Even though he continues to go crazy on Twitter. Like, he really, really needs some help. Desperately, desperately needs some help.
Speaking of not needing any help, what did you think about Garrett Cole's contract?
That's a lot of money. Like, an insane... that was close to $100 million more than I thought he was going to get, even with inflation.
I think, though, that once Strasburg went for $245.
Yeah.
I thought Cole would get $300.
Because he's younger and he has less injury history, yeah, so...
And I thought the Yankees just said, all right, let's just end all the ridiculousness here. And they just threw the big number down. I don't know if they had to go that high. But I heard the Dodgers were like right around $300. and I think the Angels were a little under 300, which was disappointing because I really wanted to see him with the Angels.
Yeah, I really thought that, once, I mean, again, it's easy to sit here and, talk about other people's money, as they say. But I just figured when you listen to him talk, like, it sounds like he's such a Southern California guy. And to be able to play in Anaheim with Mike Trout, and his home, right by his home and the beach and everything else, that, if they got close. But I mean, I guess $40 million off isn't exactly close, so. And California's,
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Then the Angels signed Rendon for a lot of money.
They did.
So I don't know. I tweeted out. I think baseball needs a salary cap in the worst way, and they need a ceiling, but they also need a floor. You shouldn't be able to spend below 100. If some teams are spending $300 million on one player, it's hard to justify a team having a team payroll of $100 million or less.
Yes.
So we need to do something there. Jerry Jones said today that he thinks the NFL is going to revisit the marijuana policy.
As well they should. Hey, while we're on the NFL, here's my quick, because I've been hearing a lot of people defending the Belichick not cheating this particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
And their reasoning is that it was so dumb that they got caught. And not only do you obviously have to historically go back to, obviously Nixon and his insaneness with him getting caught, but like, the fact that the guy freaked out when he got caught isn't an indication that he wasn't there to do. I'm not saying they cheated or didn't cheat. Who cares? They can, if they want to tape the game, they could tape the game a million different ways. But you look at the way he reacted, and it looked like he reacted to someone who got caught. And it's not like that's not an ingenious way. Like, it's not a stupid way to film and get inside information.
But you're right. It just does draw parallels to Watergate because, you're talking about taping the Bengals.
Right. And you're
not talking about taping the Ravens or the 49ers. You're talking about taping the Bengals.
Right, but as they said, it's a brand new coach, new coaching staff. You're going to get Joe Burrow. It's a team that if Belichick isn't looking to retire, maybe he wants to get a file on. And again, the history. But the fact that they're like, well, look at the guy. Like, nothing. I just don't like the defense that it was too stupid. And his reaction was like, because he reacted like a guilty person to me.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
There's always been a lot of smoke there about this kind of stuff.
And again, like, he used the exact same excuse they were told to use before. And the whole, like, well, why, if they were going to do it, why would they sneak in? Why would they just blazingly do it? And I'm like, because they blazingly clang. That's like, the best place to hide an object is in plain sight. Like, what better way to get the footage than to walk in a Bruins jersey under the guise of a TV show and just film whatever you want to film? Like, I think that's brilliant. I don't think that's like a stupid way to do it. I think it's a brilliant way to do it.
Yeah.
You've got a built-in excuse. It's not like you're hiding somebody in the stands that, maybe a rogue fan, a fan of the home team could see you filming the entire time and catch on and get you busted. Like, this, I think, is more like, some Tom Cruise Mission Impossible spy style, You go in under the guise of something else. If you get caught, you've got a built-in excuse. Like, I just, I don't know. They got to find it for something.
It's just hard to believe, right?
Right. And again, like I said, maybe it doesn't help them at all. Maybe they weren't cheating, but I don't like the excuse that it's a dumb way to do it, and that's why they couldn't be cheating. It could be cheating just because they have a history of cheating, and no matter how they did it, it could be cheating.
Okay. He's guilty till proven innocent because he's done it before.
Yes. Debo was actually on...
So today they suspended the producer who filmed the sideline.
Yeah.
So Patriots last week suspended Dave Mondillo, the producer who oversaw the filming of the Bengals sideline. Mondillo's a long-time, full-time employee of Kraft Sport and Entertainment. Patriots admitted their film crew violated NFL rules, but claimed the crew was unaware of the rule. I don't think so.
And again, at first I thought the story the Patriots was saying was they just hired a freelance guy. And it's like, he's a long-time employee of Kraft Productions who's been around the page. I'm sure he's a Patriot. Everyone knows about Spygate, especially if you work for the Patriots, I'm sure. So I just, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, people's justification isn't really there. But Debo, James Harrison, as people know him, who finished his last season in New England after being one of the Steeler greats during my lifetime, he actually was talking about the season that they played the Patriots and lost to them in the championship game. And he's like, we played them the first time, we beat them. We sacked Tom Brady like 5 times, had them on their heels. He's like, the second time we play him, he's like, it was like they knew everything we were doing before we did it.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's like, I never saw it when I was there. He's like, maybe I never got into the inner circle. He's like, I'm just saying. So.
Well, for Spygate, they get fined $500,000 and a first-round draft pick.
Yes.
So they're not going to get. They'll probably get maybe $200,000 this time, and maybe a fifth or sixth round pick. But they're going to get hit with something.
You have to. Yeah.
Shout out to Tiger for leading the American team to the President's Cup.
Sure.
And I've never seen Tiger that excited and that happy and that enjoying himself in the moment. It was really a nice thing to see.
Well, that's good. That's very good for little Tiger.
Yeah. Any food moments this week?
Sadly, I did not have a food moment this week. No.
I'm trying to find anything. I had a good breakfast at Eggsy's in Minneapolis. It's good value, a lot of food, and good quality food.
Nice.
I had some fruit pancakes and some eggs and really good home fries. Solid.
Yes. We need to give a special shout out to Luca and his 4 languages and his conquering of Mexico before he got his sprained ankle a day later. But that was really cool to watch. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Like he went down, spoke to Mexico, and Blake Griffin was great afterwards too. In perfect Blake Griffin Spanish, after Luca just enticed the crowd with perfect Spanish, Blake Griffin just looked at everybody and said, I knew I should have gone first.
Outrageous.
And now they said that they're going to maybe add a D-League team to Mexico.
There's a G-League team in Mexico. Yeah, it's called the Capitans.
Okay.
They play Mexico City starting next year.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see how it translates.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, we want to make sure this is a future entertainment moment, but for the first time in a long time, I'm really excited to watch Saturday Night Live on Saturday.
Eddie Murphy. I am excited to watch it as well.
Eddie Murphy hosting Saturday Night Live, back from all of his time.
I am really looking forward to it, and I'll be curious to see which things he brings back.
Yes.
I'm hoping for Mr. Robinson.
I think there's no doubt. I mean, with all the Mr. Rogers stuff this year, that's kind of, it's almost in vogue again with the Tom Hanks movie and everything else. It's hard to imagine.
He's always done Gumby during the holidays.
Yeah, it's true. But does Gumby play in?
I think it's going to be really, really good.
Does Gumby play in 2020?
I didn't think he played the last time.
Okay.
But because Eddie Murphy was doing him, I was intrigued.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any alum from his season or anybody around that time that pops in as well, or who, if he gets anybody to, any of the old people to join him. I don't know who he has relationships with or anything else. So.
Like a surprise guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the other night. I watched Dragnet with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
I think it might be the best acting job Dan Aykroyd ever did.
Huh.
I mean, because I was familiar with the show when it was on, and the character Joe Friday, and Aykroyd really played him 100% in character.
Well, who knew?
Yeah. And I've been watching the serial Dublin Murders.
Yes.
And I'm up to episodes. We're going to watch episode 6 tonight. It is really, really well done. And I only have one. My only complaint is I have to turn the TV up very loud because of the accents. And sometimes it's hard for me to get. I mean, they're really strong Irish accents. So sometimes it's really hard to figure out exactly what it is. And then sometimes, I wish I had a glossary for some of the terms. But the acting and the storyline is just really, really good.
And speaking of those shorter shows, I'm only 3 episodes in, so I know the finale got great reviews, but Watchmen on HBO has been phenomenal so far.
Okay.
It's been absolutely, Lindelhoff, the showrunner who was part of the showrunners for Lost, who I kind of lost a little faith in, this show is just so, so good. And I think what he's saying is he doesn't want to have a second season. He said it ends where it's supposed to end, and it's based on a graphic novel that's a novel-sized novel. So I mean, I think 8 episodes is probably enough, and
Yeah.
it's going to end, and they don't think there's going to be a second season, which I think is great. Just bring the same people back and let them do something else creative. If if you really enjoy that, just base it off that. Like, no need to add to it just to have it. But it's really, really good so far.
Well, on our next show, you and I have to play it first so we can talk about it. But Play Score that I sent you,
Yes.
we're going to download the Play Score app from the App Store, and we're going to Play Score, which is a new online gambling, sports gambling, but it is skill based, and you play against other people rather than the house, and it sounded pretty interesting. Bob Bodine called me about it today and asked if we would check it out, and I said we would, and I thought, we'll check it out and we'll talk about it on the show.
Yes. And if anybody was wondering, in my fantasy football league, I completed my tank. It's a dynasty league, so I've already traded for 6 of the first-round picks for next season. So I can draft a lot of rookies. But I want to thank Rob Gronkowski, who has been my starting tight end since week 6. I just figured my team really needed to have the greatest tight end in in NFL history on my team, and that would help me secure the number 1 overall pick. So just special show.
Is there anybody you already have your sights on?
I like all 3 of them. I love CeCe Lamb. I like Giroudi from Alabama. There's a couple of nice running backs. Joe Burrow might nice stash on the bench at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Joe Burrow for winning the Heisman.
Of course.
And I guess it wasn't even close.
No, it was not. It really, really wasn't. And
surprisingly, there was not one running back on the stage.
Yeah, I think it's tougher. I think you even look at some of the backs that are exploding in the NFL. It seems like, they're coming out of 3 or 4 back systems now, Like, you get the guys that, it seems like the smaller school guys are still, 7,000 yards over their career.
Mm-hmm.
But you get some of those guys like Nick Chubb and, some of the other guys that shared the spotlight. And I think that, really helps them. Like, you have a couple of games to shine, show the NFL what you can do, tear it up the combine, and keep as many miles off the body as possible.
Oh, you know what? I got to go back to the Steelers for one more time.
Oh.
Why have 5 running backs active for the game if you're only going to rush 15 times?
And I think maybe you just made Edmonds happy. I really like the kid they got from Chicago, who obviously, again, is another rookie off the practice squad.
I like him too.
And here's my unpopular opinion for Steeler Nation right now. I sort of feel like, even though I sort of feel like we know everyone need to know about Mason Rudolph, I might throw him back in for the last 2 weeks and just nail down this is who he is or this is who he isn't. You're not winning the Super Bowl this year. You make the playoffs, great. You don't make the playoffs, it's fine. You secured the 500 record. You got your winning season. I think now it's all about evaluation. And I think we've seen 7 weeks of the Duck, and I think we know what the Duck is. And I'd like to see the Duck become the Steelers' backup moving forward, but maybe throw Mason Rudolph back in there, give him 2 more starts to prove that he's either somebody to move forward with or somebody to move off of completely. Just throwing that out there.
Interesting.
And from listening to both this show and me talking to you off the air, I'm not a Mason Rudolph fan. I just feel like, you've invested a 3rd-round pick in him 2 years ago, and although he's not looked like an NFL player for 1 down as far as I can tell, I'd rather see him in there. Let's end it. Let's end the argument right now. He's got 2 games to prove whether he should be on the roster for next year, and otherwise let's move on and, draft somebody else.
Yeah, fair.
Because, again, to me it feels like we're at that point now where I think a million things would have to happen before the Steelers advance in the playoffs, let alone, assuming they get in. And if you're Tomlin, you secured your legacy. You got your 8-8. Minka Fitzpatrick looks like it was a good trade. Now it's all about evaluating next year. So
we'll see how it goes.
Let's bring in all the young guys possible. Let's see who can play. Let's see who can't. Use this as like an extended, pre-draft, pre-free agency sort of look at everybody. Yeah. And We got to keep the eye on Jameis Winston, who could be the first 30-30 player in the NFL.
Yeah, he could be. How many more picks does he need?
I think he only needs 3 more picks.
So 2 games, 3 picks. That's well within.
He could do that in a half.
Yeah.
Because now you got no Mike Evans, and maybe the kid from Penn State might be out for the year too. So 30 for 30 is on the table. You know.
We saw the Steelers get rid of Tevin, whatever his name was today, right?
Oh, the receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They signed somebody else for the practice squad.
They might as well.
That's enough Steeler talk. All right, everybody. We will talk to you on. Jason and I will actually be together this weekend, so we'll be in the same city. And we'll have a fun time playing our new game and talking about that. And seeing what else is up.
All right. Have a good week.